Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start the night by recognizing that we are on the unceded territory of the Quetzal Nation, and that in this room there are different views, different ways of expression, different emotional intensities, and different roads that lead to conclusions. May we combine clarity of mind with kindness of heart, and may we be impartial without bending to strong personalities. May we sacrifice self-interest for the good of the whole, and may we do our work with love and clarity of vision for the benefit of those that we represent. And with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Are there any late items this evening? There are no late items, so is there approval of agenda as circulated? Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll move on to adoption of minutes. And can we adopt all of these as a block? So we'll do 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4, November 24th, 27th, December 1st, and December 3rd. Be adopted as circulated. Is there a mover and a seconder? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. And the report of the Chief Administrative Officer will be Ms. McWilliam this evening. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Staples. Thank you, Council. I have a report prepared by Peter, so Mr. DeVerte is not in attendance this evening, and I will be reading out some of the highlights. The Cowichan Way, Al Wilson Grove Force Main, as Council can likely imagine, after the recent sewer break and the subsequent boil water advisory, staff are accelerating the review of the options for rerouting the force main to connect to Dobson Road with a view of construction in 2026. We're also still working on the Gibbons Reservoir relining, so work is underway, and a new hatch needs to be installed at this time so that the liner can be installed in the tank. The Coronation Avenue Bike Lanes project is still ongoing. Project completion is anticipated to be the end of January, and a number of deficiencies are currently being addressed. The White Road Supportive Housing Site, the BC Housing has made an announcement about the operator for the site. So Connective has been selected, and we anticipate that the building will be tenanted early in the new year. There will be a number of budget meetings, there have been a number of budget meetings held on November 3rd, November 10th to review the operating budget, and on November 24th to review the 2026 capital budget. Details on the proposed 2026 budget will be uploaded to the Big Conversations page early in January for public consultation. And as you're aware, we've had some good news, so we'll be using the updated tax implication numbers. Pet license renewals invoices have been sent to pet owners, and the early bird prices are in effect until January 31st. After that, regular prices will apply. So if you know anyone who needs to get a dog license, please encourage them to come out early. And that's all for the updates.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. McWilliam from anyone? Councillor Bruce, go ahead.
Thank you. Do you know if there are any tours going to happen for the building on White Road, either before it's occupied or just after? Or?
Through Mayor Staples to Councillor Bruce, as I understand it, that'll be a decision made by the operator. They haven't yet decided how to do some of their public engagement, but that is something that they may consider, and if there's an interest from council, that's something that we could certainly arrange.
I know of a couple of people that live, one of them is one of the houses right beside, and they're really looking forward to having a tour, if possible, for the public as well. I don't know if that's possible.
I can certainly pass on that sentiment and ask that they consider doing a tour before people start to move in.
Any other questions for Mr. McWilliam at this time? Do you have another one? Yeah, go ahead.
With the sewer problem, and I know that pipe has gone oblong, has it not, Kyle? The pipe is very hard to patch because it's an oblong item now as far as not being round. And my question would be, that's compromised that whole pipe area. Do we have the ability to detect if there's a leak? Or do we have, does it just bubble up, or is there anything down there that's showing any discrepancy?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not my area of expertise, so I'm not really sure how those leaks are detected, but we can get that information for council.
Okay, thank you. I'm off. We'll move on to reports of staff. So Ms. McWilliam, we have the acting mayor schedule. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Sure, thanks. As I'm sure you're no doubt aware, we try to make the opportunity for acting mayor available to everyone on a schedule that is as equitable as possible. And so we did connect with the council members that are listed here to see if the schedule would work for you. There is, of course, the election coming up this year, so it's slightly modified for 2026. With your consideration and approval, we'll make this schedule available to the public as well.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions about this at all from anyone? So the council approved the following acting mayor schedule for 2026. Councillor Mike McKinley, January 1st to April 30th. Councillor Jenny Capps, May 1st to July 31st. And Councillor Stacey Middlemiss, August 1st to November 9th. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. And Community Heritage Register, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mayor Staples. So this item is dealing with the proposed Community Heritage Register. So staff are seeking direction in accordance with Council's strategic plan and the OCP to begin formalizing and developing a Community Heritage Register and to notify owners of properties that have been identified for potential inclusion on the Community Heritage Register. So at this point, it's just would be direction to develop the register, and then we would bring that back to council for formal acceptance. And essentially what it is it's a collection of statements of significance. So we look at a number of sites that have historical value based on their architectural features or excuse me, people, notable figures in history who have lived in those buildings or houses. And you write those statements out, and they form part of a register that goes on the city's website to increase awareness of those historical resources. And I do have an example register that I can pass along to council. As noted in the report, there are 18 statements of significance that we have in place now that we would compile and make those statements consistent. And we could potentially consider other properties that are on our inventory as well for inclusion on the register. So again, the recommendation is the council direct staff to create the register, and that council direct staff to inform the owners of properties that have been identified for potential inclusion on the Community Heritage Register. And just a last note that the register itself doesn't offer any type of formal protection, is really just about awareness and recognition for those resources. And to aid in community planning when we're looking at how can we, again, recognize those historical resources when those opportunities arise.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Are there any questions? Councillor Newington, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I certainly have a comment. This is something that was thought about when I first came on council, and I'm really pleased to see that we're moving this along. And it's wonderful that we have some of these lovely buildings in the city of Duncan that need to be recognized, and I certainly appreciate the work that you've put into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I note in the report that to create new statements would cost $1,200 per property, but I also note the report says the CHR can be assembled with staff resources. Does that mean that if we just have staff do it, we're not going to incur the $1,200 per property?
Yeah, to Councillor Duncan, so as noted, we already have 18 statements of significance, so there's no additional cost to starting with those 18 and establishing the register. If we want to do new statements, we do, like, the key cost is hiring a heritage consultant to do the historical research on those buildings. That's not something that staff can do, and so that's where the $1,200 per statement comes into to play. The comment about staff resources putting together the actual register is just taking those existing statements, making sure they're all in a consistent format, that we have the photographs, that we can assemble it into a document that looks like this, and you know, doing the website information, the staff reports, which are currently our local government intern Zara is doing that work. So some of the work can be completed by staff. The historical research would need to be completed by a heritage consultant.
Okay, Councillor Duncan, is that good? Thank you.
I'm a little concerned because further up in the report, it talks about 89 properties, and I see 89 times 1,200. So I do have some concerns around the monies that will have to be expended if we do all of the properties.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so oftentimes with registers, you wouldn't add all of them at the same time, and not all of the 89 properties are probably worthy of inclusion on the register. Those are just properties that could have heritage potential. We still need to do that research, but usually it's done in batches over many years. So again, the starting point would be to add the 18 that we've already paid for in recent years and historically. And then in future years, there might be several others that we could add, but certainly wouldn't envision dozens of properties being added all at the same time.
Councillor Bruce?
Thank you, Mayor. Does the owner of a property have any say in this? In other words, if an owner wanted to, if his house, or I'm going to say house, the house is designated heritage, and that owner wanted to change the outside of it or roof line or something, does that stop him from doing so?
No, so the key difference is with designated heritage buildings, we have 8 designated heritage buildings in the city of Duncan. That's a formal type of protection, which does protect those structures from alterations. The heritage register does not. It doesn't protect the buildings or sites. Owners could continue to make alterations to those buildings without city approval. Of course, other than if development permits or building permits are needed.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thanks for all of that. That council directs staff to create a community heritage register, and that council directs staff to inform the owners of properties that have been identified for potential inclusion on the community heritage register. Is there a mover and a seconder? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move to bylaws for first, second, and third reading. Ms. McWilliam.
Thank you, Mayor Staples. So we've prepared a bylaw offense notice enforcement bylaw amendment, which is a schedule of fines that would be associated with the inter-community business license, which is on this agenda for adoption a little later on. You'll note that the fines range in accordance with the Bylaw Offense Notice Enforcement Act, so up to $500 per offense. And each day that an offense occurs constitutes a separate offense. We've also made other housekeeping amendments, and one of note is to increase the fines for parking contrary to signage indicating no stopping permitted. We use that fine amount when we are towing vehicles outside of the vicinity of approved events, including the farmers market. We have found in recent years that unfortunately the cost of towing vehicles, particularly if we have to use the dolly, has gone up, and so we're looking to cover some more of those expenses by increasing the fine amount from $100 to $200. We did previously have a conversation with the farmers market just to make sure that they would be aware, and they're fully supportive.
Excellent. Any questions on this one? It seems pretty straightforward. Thank you. So the council give first three readings to bylaw offense notice enforcement amendment bylaw 3200, 2025, a bylaw to establish bylaw offense fines associated with intercommunity business license bylaw and to make other housekeeping amendments. And it was bylaw number 3200.06. Is there a mover and a seconder? Are there any further comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries, and we'll move to adoption of bylaws, and that's over to Ms. Crossman, who's joining us by Zoom. Hello up there.
Good evening, everyone. So on the agenda tonight, we have the fees and charges amendment bylaw. This is up for adoption. And it had previously been discussed at committee of the whole meetings and had three readings at the previous council meeting. And this is to set the utility rates for 2026.
Thank you. Are there questions for Ms. Crossman at this time? I see no one. Oh, Councillor Bruce, go ahead. No, don't be sorry.
On the, Ms. Crossman, on the business licenses, on page 29, mine is here, and businesses outside of the city, they're a rate of $100. Could you, outside of the city, could you just speak to that, please? Outside of the boundaries of the city of Duncan? Is that what that means?
Sure, I believe you're speaking about a mobile business, so it might be, say, a small home-based business from in the CVRD, say a plumber or something that wants to do work within the city. We will grant them a business license to be able to come into the city and do work inside the boundaries. We don't regulate them doing work outside of our boundaries, but we allow a non-resident business to come in and do work inside.
Thank you. I have one more, may I? Just down from that is from every nonprofit organization with nonprofit status operating a business within the city of Duncan, an annual fee of $1, which is good. Now, when there are infractions, do those infractions, if there are infractions with nonprofits, my question is, to regulate all that, are the costs the same for the city of Duncan, just because it's a nonprofit, but are the costs the same to the city of Duncan, and should the nonprofits be responsible for those costs like the businesses are as far as their licensing is concerned? Thank you.
I believe the costs would be the same, but if I could let Paige speak to that in terms of bylaw enforcement and following up with infractions.
Sure, thanks. So I think I understand the question correctly. You're asking if the regulation of a nonprofit through the business licensing initiative is the same as it would be to regulate a for-profit business. And for the most part, it's actually a really beneficial tool to require nonprofits to receive business licenses, because if for any reason they're not in compliance, then we have a mechanism to pursue ticketing against them. It's not something that we would choose to do for the most part. It's often we're looking for voluntary compliance, but it allows us to regulate the nonprofits in the same way we would a for-profit business. So if at no expense to them or at the expense of $1, and then gives us information about their operations and allows us to use that as a mechanism to make sure that they're in compliance with our bylaw.
You're good?
However, if there's something that, say, bylaws have to act on, those costs then would be borne just by the taxpayer, is that correct?
Thank you. I think if you're speaking to the resources required to undertake an investigation, then yes, that would be something borne by our bylaw enforcement department. However, as you can see here, the bylaw offense notice enforcement bylaw would give us a mechanism for ticketing. So if there is an issue for whatever reason that's occurring with a nonprofit and they're not in compliance, then we're able to issue tickets to them. So much in the same way bylaw enforcement generally is, it's not intended to be operating on a cost recovery basis. It really is, if in an ideal world everybody was able to be in compliance, then we wouldn't need a bylaw department at all. It's much the same as the way we talk about parking enforcement. If everybody was able to follow the regulations and there was spaces available when people needed them, then we wouldn't have anybody out there issuing tickets for parking violations. It's simply a necessity of having regulatory bylaws.
So we do then have the ability to charge for an infraction.
That is correct. We do have a ticketing mechanism to charge for infractions. So we have the bylaw offense notice enforcement bylaw, which is here before you and lists a number of fines for different offenses that would potentially occur under our intercommunity business license bylaw. We also have another ticketing regime that we use, which is the municipal ticket information system, so a little bit higher fines. So yes, we do have the ability to pursue or to support, let's say, support business license holders to be in compliance.
Okay. Thank you. And so we'll move to the, to adopt 8.1 fees and charges amendment bylaw, a bylaw to keep utility rates. Nope, sorry. Oh, no, that's right. Utility rates for 2026 and make other housekeeping amendments. A mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And back to you, Ms. Crossman, for the financial plan bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor Staples. So this is the final adoption of the financial plan amendment bylaw. This was discussed at previous committee of the whole meetings and was on for 3 readings at the last council meeting. And this is to deposit the remainder of the COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant funds to the General Capital Reserve and close that grant file off.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Ms. Crossman on this one? Councillor Bruce, go ahead.
On the sewer rent, that's on page 31 and 32. I see that these rates, for instance, number 3 is a single-family residence with 1 accessory dwelling unit. It's $1,095 for 2026, I think, is what that reads. Is that? I should probably know this. I'm sorry, Mrs. Crossman. I should know this, but is that just the whole sewer bill? Is sewer not regulated by water, billed by the amount of water coming into the house? This seems to say that if you have a suite, then you're going to pay more. Is that correct? I probably should know all this.
To Councillor Bruce's question, we're still using mostly flat rate sewer fees. And we are planning to move to a metered sewer fee. It's part of the whole meter program, but it's one of the last steps. And we're expecting that to happen probably in 2027. But for now, most of our properties are still on a flat fee. So yeah, it's a single family residence with 1 accessory dwelling unit would pay $1,095 per year for all of their sewer charges.
And if you didn't have a suite, what would you pay?
So that's just on the previous page. You would pay $565 for just a single family residence all by itself.
I don't like that.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Ms. Crossman? No? Okay. Then I will move that council adopt financial plan amendment bylaw number 325702, a bylaw to amend the financial plan for 2025 to 2029. So a mover and a seconder for that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. And we'll move to 8.3, community business license bylaw number 3261. And if there's anyone who believes their interest may be affected, you'll be provided an opportunity to speak prior to consideration of this. And for introduction, I'll move over to Ms. McWilliam. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. You have before you for adoption the inter-community business license bylaw. This has received first 3 readings and notice has been provided in the newspaper and on the city's website. As previously mentioned, it will formalize the process for applying for business licenses and the process if there's any issues and council needs to make reconsideration of a staff decision regarding business licenses. It is the same participating 14 jurisdictions. It's our way of supporting businesses who operate in more than just the Cowichan Valley to be able to purchase one license that is valid throughout 14 participating municipalities. Thanks.
All right, are there any questions from Mr. William on this? And is there anyone, sorry, I should ask, is there anyone who'd like to speak first? I see no one. Going once, going twice, and gone. Okay, so now, is there anyone on council who'd like to speak to this? Seeing no hands, the council adopt intercommunity business license bylaw number 3261, 2025, a bylaw to reestablish intercommunity licensing and regulating of trades, occupations, and businesses. Mover and a seconder. Any discussion? You have discussion? Go for it.
Thank you. So I guess my question is has each one of the participating municipalities prepared some overarching bylaw, or are we dealing with one for each area?
No, the way it works, although the legislation does permit us to have a licensing initiative that spans more than one jurisdiction, each jurisdiction needs to pass the bylaw that authorizes that initiative. So each of the participating jurisdictions listed here will be doing the same process. They'll be bringing this bylaw forward along with the agreement for consideration with the intent of having it come into effect on January 1st.
Okay, any further questions? All right. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. And there's no proclamations this evening. Are there reports from any council members? Councillor Capps, anyone else? Councillor Duncan. Councillor Middlemiss, do you have a report tonight? Okay, so we'll go Councillor Capps and then Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I attended, not last night, but the evening before, I went to Sea Waves Walk and Candlelit Vigil for the Day of Remembrance for victims of gender-based violence, and everyone at the shooting at the Polytechnique. It was a memorial and a nice vigil, a nice candlelit walk. There were about, I would say, maybe 25, 30 people there. And everyone, the organizers were saying how incredibly well attended it was, and it was so many more people than they were expecting. So I think leading up to this event next year, I'll do my best to spread the word and try to and get more people out. I heard of it sort of last minute, and they sort of commented that they had gotten a parade permit, like an event permit from the city, but that it was just a sidewalk walk, and that with the amount of foot traffic of those there, they wouldn't need to close the streets. And I thought with an issue as important as, you know, as gender-based violence, wouldn't it be great if there was such an interest and turnout that we needed to do that? Yeah, it was a wonderful event, and that's about all I've been up to.
Thank you, Councillor Capps. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I attended the Cowichan Core Recreation meeting last week, and we passed our interim budget. So the numbers, there was some reductions in various areas, but that budget goes back now to the CVRD board to review it. It was set at they're trying to get a 4% and to see whether or not they can get any lower than that. I don't know that they will be able to. And I also attended the Queen Margaret School, I guess it would be their society projects of the grade 8 classes. One of the first projects that they brought up was the one about saving our hospital, which I've been harping on for 2 or 3 or 4 years now. I suggested that they should contact the Ministry of Health to express their concerns about losing a building that would probably be just great to take care of mental health and addictions in our area. One of the other things they talked about was crosswalks in the Duncan area. I pointed out that we quite often receive funding for ICBC on most of our crosswalks for the warning lights. They also brought up one of their projects was on bike rentals, like short-term bike rentals, not necessarily electric bikes, but pedal bikes. You see them around in most big cities, so just that was a pretty good idea. I don't know if there would be a big appetite for it here. There's already 4 high-end bike shops in town, so. And one of the other things was they're on their own property. They were trying to get some gender-neutral boarding house changes made. And lastly, they had some concerns because quite often some of their students come over from Salt Spring and there's no they say there's no real waiting area or availability of water. So these were projects that they did research on where I could give some information. I also pointed out that on our website, they can find information on who to write to with their concerns in the provincial government.
Thank you. That's the first time I think I've missed the vigil in a very long, healthy number of years. And I saw it last minute. I was out of town, but it has been in different times and different stages. There has been, you know, a high number of people. It seems to sort of go through stages. So, but yeah, it would be great to know about it earlier so we could really share that, because I think it's a really important thing. It definitely helped me. I remember the very first time I laid a rose down for one of the women, and I just remember thinking to myself that, you know, her voice was taken away, and it's up to all of us to continue to be voices and to continue to speak on behalf of people who are unable to, and so as women, and so yeah, grateful that they're still doing that and still honoring that loss of life. And I went to the village site with a visit with our new MP, MP Kibble, and I got the chance to walk around the site, and he got to, you know, just learn about what was happening there and how some of the history about the site and where it is now, where we want it to go in the future. So it was good to spend that time with him. I went to Halifax, and I was one of the speakers on the Issues of Substance conference, and so as part of my role as one of the reps for the small and mid-sized community representatives on the opioid crisis nationally, it was part of that I was asked to come and speak about you know, different things around that committee, but also the work again of the village. And we had a panel of about 150 people, or a room of about 150 people we got to speak to. And it was a really good conversation, excellent panelists, presenters. It was a hard and very intense conference because of the subject matter. There was representatives from all across Canada and all the territories. And there was almost 1,000 people there. And so it just really gives you a really clear idea of the impact that is being felt everywhere in very small remote communities and large urban centers, and hearing a lot of all the different ways people are trying to address things from, and being able to speak about some of the things that we've done in our community. It was really well done. And they also had one of the keynote speakers, which I found really surprising, was Sesame Street. And it was the reason that they spoke. They closed the conference, and the reason that they did that was because PBS is being taken off the air in the States, or I don't know if it's been off air, but Sesame Street's no longer on the air through them, so I think they're under Netflix now. But what they've really tried to take up in the absence of that public programming is ensuring that the new characters are kind of taking up spaces that, that are being taken away. So for things like DEI, and in this case, that what they spoke to was that they have a whole series on a new character who's has a mother who has a substance use issue. And so it's to use to help young children understand how to have conversations, and also to help teachers, educators, friends, families of young people who are dealing with that to have conversations. So they have a lot of YouTube videos that people can use to have those conversations. And it's just really well done. And so it was, yeah, surprising that they were there, but in context, it was really great, the work that they're picking up, and a number of other spaces that they're doing this around. So it was a really excellent conference, and something that I did also get to meet with the fentanyl czar, and have a long conversation with him with a couple of other mayors about the challenges that we're facing in community, and how we need to, how they need to work with communities rather than them, you know, sort of telling us what we need and only giving us one small thread into funding, that we need to really work together. We know as communities what we need, and we need them to come and work with us, not the other way around. So just asking them to flip the table on how we actually are dealing and addressing with this. So we did get to spend a couple of hours with him, and I look forward to follow up. And so I also had an interview with CBC about the community safety plan on the morning show on the island. And we had the North Couch and Duncan Joint Council meeting here, and finally put the sign issue to rest. And we also had our annual meeting, awards night, and a radio interview with Justin from Sun FM. And I actually don't remember what that one was, because there was another one today that I also had for about 45 minutes this morning. And that one was about just sort of the highlights of the year. And there was a lot to actually talk about, and there was things that seemed like they were years and years ago that have actually only happened in 2025. So it was a good reflection for me too. And I also did a presentation to Tri-Cities Homelessness and Housing Task Force, again about the village. And earlier in the month met with the Minister of Housing, and a meeting with BC Housing, and again, just trying to talk about how we actually become the leaders of what we need in our communities, and how, you know, they come to work with us, and that we need those supports in order to address the challenges in all of our communities. And we really need to have better working relationships with the different levels of government to address these issues, because we are able to do that if we have those types of supports and relationships. And the Tri-Cities meeting was fantastic. I was on with them for about an hour. And I did not get to attend the QMS Society final presentations, even though it says here that I did, because I was at that Tri-Cities Homelessness and Housing Task Force presentation that had been established quite a bit before. But Councillor Duncan was there on behalf of us, and I would actually, after reading what the young people shared, I know a lot of it was about things outside of the city, but I would really love for us to invite them to come and present to our council in the new year, because we have not had those types of presentations since, I think, before the pandemic. And it's really, it gives them an opportunity to you know, test their skills and learn those skills, and also to share with a broader audience in a different way. And we can invite members of the CBRD and the municipality to come and watch that night. So I would really like for us to follow up and invite them to see if they would be interested in coming, if council is open to that, because they have some really good ideas. And I think that it's important that they know that their voices are heard around these tables too. So yeah, so that is that. And this is our last meeting of 2025, which seems crazy to me that year is coming to an end. It feels like it's June, and it feels like it's been a long year and a short one all at the same time. So with that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone, and looking forward to a new year. And I hope everyone's safe and yeah, has a good time over the break. So thank you. Question period. Any questions this evening? So a motion to close, that the motion be closed, or that the meeting be closed to public under the following sections of the community charter to discuss matters related to disposition, section 90E, acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land improvements. If the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, and enforcement of an enactment, section 90F, law enforcement. If the council considers that disclosure could be reasonably be expected to harm the conduct of an investigation under or enforcement of the enactment. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? All those in favor? Motion carries. We'll take